I think they mean by if you do something you'll love, you'll never work a day in your life. It's true to that extent where it's just like it's easier for you to get up and do the thing because it's your own thing. This is your brand,
Right.
your passion, but it's still there's days where it sucks. But at the same time, the good always outweighs the bad, even when you're getting just the shit sandwich of life every like when it comes in the waves and you're just like, well, here we go again. It's still worth getting up every day and just grinding it out, you know. Um,
Man.
I wouldn't trade it for anything at this point in my life.
Let's freaking go, dude. Let's fire it up.
All right, let it rip.
All right. Well, everybody, welcome back to Whiskey and Windage. We have a great guest lined up for today. We've got Vinny over at Monsoon Tactical, the big guy over there. Vinny, welcome to Whiskey and Windage.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. Really appreciate you guys reaching out. Well, you know, linking up at Guns Out Range Day and then following through. So here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we got to see your offerings firsthand, and I can't wait to get into those. So we've got time for that down the road. But how's everything been going since we last saw you? Is everything good?
Good, man. Yeah, just busy as always. Very blessed to be in that position, especially in the gun industry right now. So,
Yeah.
just continuing to see the support from the community that we have, and all the work that we're putting into going to events and making connections there, all coming full circle, including this. You know, so putting in the work has been paying off on our end for sure. So it's been great.
Hell yeah. No rest for the wicked.
No,
No, not at all. So before we get into our first segment of Ask AI, I want to say that this segment is brought to us by our sponsors over at Wheeler Tools. So check those guys out, and don't forget to use the code Whiskey10 to save yourself some cash on that. But let's go ahead and get into it.
When precision matters, trust the tool that delivers. The Wheeler Pro Series 100-piece fat wrench kit brings unmatched control to your bench. With torque you can trust and 100 purpose-built bits, it's the all-in-one answer for gunsmiths, builders, and perfectionists. Whether you're mounting optics or dialing in fine details, this kit hits every mark. Clean, confident, repeatable. No guesswork, no strip screws. Just pro-level performance in your hands. Upgrade your bench with Wheeler Tools.
All right, so I asked AI, who is Monsoon Tactical? And Vinny, you just kind of let me know what you think here. So it says they specialize in machining, slide milling, stippling, serrations, windows, nose cuts, custom Cerakoting, porting, and other custom modifications. They they market specific porting packages like Lucky Sevens designed to reduce recoil, impulse, and muzzle rise. They also offer the Genghis Comp integral compensator style port for certain 1911, 2011 platforms. They use a queue system for their work. Customers place orders, then wait until Monsoon is ready to accept your firearm slide. They publish lead times. They emphasize combining performance upgrades with good visual finishing work, i.e. clean Cerakote jobs matching patterns. They appear to cover various pistol platforms, including Glock CZ, AKs, ARs, 1911s, you name it, and they specialize in optics cuts and porting. So going through all that, man, what do you think AI did? Do you think they represented you well? Do you think they left some meat on the bone? You know, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, from like just an overall business perspective, that was pretty spot on. Um, I would say that we definitely specialize in the porting segment and just in our stippling segment. I mean, everything that we do is pretty much specialized in really. So, that's pretty good. You're gonna have to send me that one for sure. Put that in our about us
Yeah,
thing.
it
It's
makes
AI is so crazy,
Dude.
so crazy. Just kind of segueing off that, like we have a buddy that works in cybersecurity and he uses a lot of chat GPT, and I don't understand it at all. I kind of don't trust it either because I don't know
Yeah.
which one you're supposed to download and use, you know. Um, but he got into USPSA this year and he like asked AI how to he inputted all his data from a match, and it literally spit out like all this jargon that you would hear top tier instructors say. And I'm just like, this is wild. So that's pretty spot on. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, man. Chat GTP is a little scary. It's a little scary machine for sure. I mean, it comes in
Yeah.
and sometimes in some cases it's like, all right, yeah, man, you read the website and you read their social media pretty well. You're just regurgitating. But even when it does that, sometimes the way it compiles everything and puts it all together. I mean, I didn't go into it because I could have read for hours, but literally the next segment was reputation in the community. And it was here's what forums, review sites, Reddit, social media have to say about people who've seen Monsoon's work. But I'll read you one real quick because it's really cool. It says quality of work. Many users say the machining, porting, and Cerakoting work looks top notch and clean. The work was great quality and it shoots way flatter. So, I mean, it's really cool that it takes everything and just kind of compiles it like, yeah, these dudes are
Yeah.
legit or I don't know, but it was really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Who needs a
I
resume
know
anymore, right?
yeah, I know. I know it just scrubs the internet for all that data, but it's pretty interesting how it compiles it like someone wrote that for us, you know.
Yeah.
For real, for real. So let's just go ahead and jump right in, man. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's go back to Vinny and let's go to early life. So tell us, tell us a little about yourself growing up. Like where'd you grow up? What got you into firearms?
So I grew up in Wichita, Kansas. I was born there in 1991, and I moved to Ohio when I turned 9. And I've been here ever since. And I've always been fascinated with guns at an early age. My mom, bless her heart, she pretty much raised me by herself till I was 9, but that also meant that there was a lot of unparental, supervised times with like my older uncles and stuff. So I grew up playing more mature video games than I should have in the 90s and in all the 80s and 90s action movies. So guns were kind of a staple in my younger years of life. And I was also very spoiled being an only child at the time with grandparents, so they would always buy me like all the toy guns that you could get back then. And I literally walked around with like an old like 80s blue luggage suitcase full of these toy guns as a kid, and it just progressed. In my
Yes.
teenage years, I did a lot of paintball, airsofting, and then that eventually got replaced with real steel as I got into my early 20s. So pretty much,
Well,
honestly, just been into firearms my entire life as long as I could remember. And then all of this craziness started to happen a little bit later on in life. So,
so going back to what you said about the unsupervised, the unsup, the lack of there was supervision, there was adult supervision, just maybe not the
not
kind that
mom supervision.
not mom
Yeah,
Yeah,
supervision.
not mom.
When it
yeah.
Uncle.
comes to those when it comes to those games that you remember growing up and those movies, like which game and which movie just stick out to you like, man, those were the ones.
Oh man, I mean, I grew up in the '90s, so Nintendo 64, PlayStation was big. GoldenEye, Resident Evil,
Let's
those kind
go.
of games were very heavy in my influence there. Movies, it was like GoldenEye, James Bond,
Yeah.
Face Off, The Rock. Like I just remember watching all those kinds of movies as like a 7, 8 year old kid. Probably shouldn't be watching them, but um, kind of proves that even that kind of content can't really mess with you too much. So, um,
Yeah.
it was definitely like I said, I had a lot of older uncles and stuff that would hang out and watch me, and they just play their games, and I'd be there watching them, and um, you know, and honestly, like as I got older, when my stepdad, my now dad, came into the picture, he even let me play those games. Growing up, he didn't really see the harm in them. It was a video game, so there were oddly enough, he didn't let me play Grand Theft Auto which was a T game at the time on PlayStation, but he would let me play Resident Evil, which was kind of funny. So
That is funny. Talking to friends and talking to people, the common perception is, money doesn't change people. Money just makes you more of what you perceive you are. But I also think that's also due to, I also think that not due to, but I think it's also can relate to games and movies and things. I mean, if you've got a screw loose and you're playing certain games like that, it might magnify that. But if you're a normal dude and you're playing them, like you have that conscience, so like right from wrong and know that yeah, this is fun and I can do this in a game, but I can't do it in real life. So I mean, yeah,
sure.
hats off to everybody involved for getting you involved in that stuff. And we're glad you're here. We're glad you're in the space for sure.
Amen.
Yeah.
So Vinny, how does your interest in firearms, you said came to real steel probably in your early 20s. How does that turn into a career in firearms and now the owner of, an entrepreneur in the space, not just working in the industry?
Yeah, man. So it started out as a personal need for myself.
Mhm.
As I started to venture more into carrying a gun and making that a part of my lifestyle, going, to a Glock or something like that, and realizing this gun just plain sucks. It's blocky, it's not great. And back when I started carrying a gun, um, there wasn't a whole lot of people doing, what we do now. Now there's a lot of other customizers out there for sure. And so I just decided to take it upon myself to do some like basic modifications that we're kind of seeing out there in the industry. Your little single undercuts, some finger groove removing stuff on a Glock, and um, again, just as a necessity for me, as like I want a better, more ergonomic pistol to carry. And then I start getting into competition shooting. Start getting more into the stippling segment of things to have better grip and more better ergonomics for competition. And then as I continued to do that for myself, I started to get a skill set for that. Again, as a younger kid and adult, I was very like I took a lot of art classes in high school, and I really enjoyed those. And my uncle, the one that would play video games and stuff, also had came from a background of art, very good artist, drawing stuff like that. So it kind of translated over. He was one of my idols growing up, so I really kind of started drawing at a young age, becoming very artistic at that time. So fast forward, doing this, getting better at it, trying to apply some aesthetics and focus to it. Start getting some attention from friends that shoot with me, like, hey, can you do this to my stuff? Sure. That then starts to turn into um, doing it for local law enforcement, for off-duty handguns and stuff like that. And I kind of start to build a little name for myself locally here in Central Ohio. And then was approached around 2019 to actually get my foot into the industry doing what I do specifically full time under someone else's brand and LLC. Um, I then 2 years after doing that got pushed into pushing my brand Monsoon Tactical full time. So that was in 2021, and here we are in 2025. It's kind of the short version of it.
So I want to ask you just your personal opinion. There's no right or wrong answer here, but as an SOT to another SOT and FFL, do you think that the work that you do as far as the stippling and the Cerakote, I understand the current laws right now. Yeah, you're supposed to be an FFL. Do you think that that's a good thing, or do you think that customization and that kind of stuff, kind of shouldn't be included in that? I mean, I understand you're going to be in possession of someone else's firearm, but
I,
just
I
always
mean,
interested.
I think once you get to a certain point, like where I was starting out, right, it was like you were doing work for a buddy, and at that time it would take you a day to do it, right? You were just borrowing his gun, doing some work, giving it back to him. Once you go like to the scale that we're at, and we're shipping guns all over the country, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. We're still taking possessions of other people's property.
Yeah.
The rules are the rules, whether we like them or not. So I don't know
No.
I think it's, we don't do transfers. We don't really get into that kind of segment of the business. We don't think it's worth our time. Um,
It's not.
from the perspective of if guns go missing and stuff like that, it is kind of nice to have the license behind it because we can kind of get
Yeah.
things replaced. So
Yeah. No, you're right.
unfortunately, you know,
I'm just leaning more towards, I was thinking about, all right, you're going to do a stipple job on something. And it's like, all right, you can take a receiver from 90% of the firearm manufacturers in the world and keep them without writing anything in your books because it's just a frame and it doesn't, I mean, it's just the grip and it doesn't matter. But those pesky Glocks and a couple other ones, it's like you touch that and it's like, oh, got to check this one in just to do a stipple job if I can't get to it within the first 24 hours. So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, most guns the frame was the serialized part, just like an AR lower,
Yeah.
and it's just, within the last couple years, a lot of companies are switching to like a chassis um, style setup where the FCU, whatever you want to call it, is the serialized part, which will then allow people to just send us those grips. Slides are obviously fair game. They don't need an FFL to
Yeah.
transfer a slide and a barrel around. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of segments to our business where it requires an FFL to get a gun in, or it doesn't, depending on what it is and how
Yeah.
capable the customer is at taking something apart and sending us those parts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So Vinny, you kind of touched on it a little bit. You said when I started carrying a handgun, but what what drew you to handguns versus rifles or shotguns primarily?
I don't know, man. I always thought handguns were just more interesting. Um, I just they're cool. They're small. It's funny enough. I kind of think like the smaller guns are even cooler. You start getting into
Yeah. I love
small
tiny
caliber
guns.
pocket guns and stuff
Yes.
like that. I just think they're interesting and neat. And then I love rifles. I love shotguns. I have a handful of them over here that I enjoy. And just from the overall perspective of like the disciplines that I do in shooting, are all pistol centric. A lot of the obviously handgun modifications we do are all pistol centric as far as the mods that we do. And there's just
Yeah.
more that we can kind of do to a handgun versus a rifle. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, an AR is just like pick XYZ part, put it together, put some paint on it, cool. Pistol, I can customize the grip, I can port the barrel, I can cut the slide for different looks, I can put different optics on it. Um, they just seem more moldable from the perspective of me being able to kind of put my vision on a handgun. Um,
Mm.
but I do like handguns. I get more excited over handguns than I do long guns and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So you kind of talked about the beginnings of Monsoon. So I guess to kind of segue off of that, what problem or other than fulfilling the need of, hey, will you stipple this, or hey, can you do a little modification here or there to your friend's stuff? Um, what problem did you see in the market that you set out to solve?
it wasn't so much a problem as it was just like I would like to do that. And the more that I sit here and think about the things that materialize in my mind that I try to make become reality are things that I want to do or things that I want to see in the industry, not so much a problem. Um, I know that's like a lot of businesses segue is to find out, well, hey, there's a problem here. Let's try to fill this gap or come up with a solution for that problem. We're kind of just making our own rules and doing our own thing, and it's just sticking. People think that what we're doing is pretty cool, pretty rad, but at the same time, it's not just about that. Like as I grew again more into the competition shooting side and that performance side of shooting a handgun, like at that speed grew, like these guns needed to be able to follow that. They needed to be able to withstand the rigorous test of a competition and stay reliable while maintaining or while giving me the utmost performance possible. And that's 100% what stems from the mind of shooting competition to get these guns to run at that optimal level based off of what we've seen over the decades of that sport with the open guns and stuff like that, to bring them to a more practical handgun for the everyday guy to use, whether they shoot competition or not. Like, that's the overall arching theme of like that top fuel dragster gun that people are winning national titles with into an OEM package for people to have that optimal platform to whatever they want to do, go shoot competitions, be the normal weekend enthusiasts or what have you, whatever they want to do with it. So um yeah, just long-winded answer. It was just me doing stuff that I thought was dope, kind of being a little selfish about it, and it just people liked it. So that's just kind of what we've been doing for the last as long as I've been doing this. Just like, hey, I would like to see this, um, and people just saw the same way.
That's that's sometimes an underlying success of an entrepreneur is, first off, you got to identify. Some people say, you got to identify your product. Other people say identify your market. But there's also a portion of people that say build something that you would want, and
Yes.
people who believe or think like you do, the like-minded individuals, there's more than just you out there that feel that way. So, you're going that way, and I think that's really cool. And I'm glad that you have carved your niche into this space, and that's really inspiring for people that are out there trying to figure out, their home in this industry. So yeah, hats off for that.
Yeah, I mean, as like an entrepreneur, sometimes it isn't, like you said, it isn't about trying to fix an issue. Sometimes more as it is like just doing something you want to do. I mean, you could kind of have the parallel of like what I'm doing is potentially fixing an issue depending on what it is you're making, right? I feel like what we're doing and what I'm doing is it's so niche. It's what's coming out of my brain, um that it's no one really asked 100% for a lot of the things that we started doing years ago, but now it's mainstream.
Oh,
Um as far as like porting and stuff like that. We just decided to take, and again, I always talk about how that segment of our business isn't something new. It's been done just like anything in the industry. It's been done before. Um, the only difference is like when something is done and it kind of dies and falls to the wayside, nobody gave it enough attention to figure out how to do it the best way.
right.
And then as time goes, those people come in and fill those gaps, I guess, solve those problems, spend the time and attention and passion to figure it out and come up with the best product possible. So yeah,
That
a
makes
lot of it's just moving forward with an idea or a dream or whatever you want to call it and just sticking to it.
Yeah, Matt, I want to ask you. So
Yeah.
be percent honest here. I'll be honest after you're done. Have you ever tried to stipple anything? Have you ever tried to get the whether it be the soldering iron or the heat gun, or like with the wood burning kit or anything? Have you ever tried to stipple anything?
So never in that sort of way. I did try and put textured paint on a pistol hand grip before.
Let me tell you what, if somebody wants to be humbled real quick,
Yeah.
go out and buy yourself that wood burning kit, and buy those tips and get out there and try it. If you do it, you can make something that is, it passes the test. But I mean, there's actually an art to it, and there's actually a method so you don't melt too quickly, and you don't, start getting all the strings and the flyers. Because I did one, and the first thing I tried was a Glock 27. It was a 40, the subcompact 40. Because I was like, I rarely ever shoot this thing. Let's give it a shot. And I did the undercut and was like, hey, that was somewhat easy, but you can tell that it was done. It doesn't look factory. So now let's try to heat it up and gloss that plastic again, or that polymer. And it worked. And then it was like, all right, let's cut this out and let's start doing the stippling. And let me tell you, yeah, I mean, does it give me the grip that I was looking for? Yes. Is it going to turn any heads or actually make anybody say, oh, that looks half-ass decent? No, no, no,
It's grippy though.
no, it's pretty damn ugly. But so yeah, I mean, there
It takes
is an art
practice.
to that. How was I do want to ask? So when you did your first one, Vinny, how did that first one look? if you actually care to admit, or maybe it went well. How did your first one go?
I have to think way back, because
It's a lot of guns
so
ago.
I mean I don't know if we're gonna touch on it too much, but Monsoon stems way back further than just where we are now with business.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And the first time I stippled a gun, I want to say it was the first time I stippled a gun, I think, was the first handgun that I ever bought when I turned 21. I'm not afraid to admit it, but I bought a Sky CPX2,
Hell yeah.
and it had nothing but problems when I got it. It was new at the time, so that kind of tells you how long ago that was.
Yeah.
Um, and sent it back for warranty, and I was like, hey. I didn't even think about this at the time. Now that I'm thinking about it, I still have the frame somewhere too. But I was like, hey, can I get another frame by chance? And I guess the CPX2 had a serialized chassis, and the actual polymer frame
Mhm.
was removable. So they sent me one. I stippled it. It actually didn't come out bad, but I didn't do a lot of framework. Right, I just
Mhm.
stippled it with a hot iron, gave it some grip. It came out decent. When I actually started to try to like do modifications and cut borders and play with textures and stuff. The first one, it wasn't the best at all, but but it did the job. I was happy with it. And just like anything else, you stick with it long enough, it'll be oh,
Well, it's art.
almost a decade since I've started messing with guns like that.
Yeah.
To get to the point to where we are now and how they come out professionally. So it's like most dudes, they're just like, and again, like the segment that we're in is so niche. Like we're very, 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 very blessed to have the amount of people that give us business year over year and keeps the lights on and feeds all the families that help us. But it's still a very small segment of people.
Mhm.
Some people don't even know what stippling is, right? Like what
No.
actual hand stippling stuff is,
Yeah.
outside of just their normal gun shop guns that they find every day. So um, most people that come across it, like nothing against, like I tell people all the time, if you want to go get a hot iron, give it some texture, and that's all you're looking for. It might not look pretty, but it'll do exactly what you're trying to do, right? And you didn't technically pay any money for it. The only risk that you have is potentially messing a gun up, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it was just like, how do you get to the point to where you can actually start charging money for work, because it has to look professionally done, in my
Yeah.
opinion, for you to make money on it.
For
Can't
sure.
just do some hack job on a frame for someone and ask for $300. It doesn't work that way. It has to come out aesthetically pleasing and functional. So that's been a
Yeah.
balancing act for the last decade for me.
Yeah. Well, it's just like anything, whether it's stippling a gun or it's, you're in your house and you're gonna paint a wall, or you're gonna cook a meal for the first time and follow a recipe. Like, yeah, every now and then you get lucky, but for the most part, it's repetition, man. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It's not shortcuts, but it's the tricks of the trade you learn throughout the process, like, oh, I can do this instead, or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely an art. And I think some of that art school stuff that you were talking about earlier, that stuff really comes out in your work, and you can tell
Yeah.
because you have to have a creative mind to
Yeah.
do some of the things you do.
For the longest time, I never liked being called an artist in the gun space. It's
Mm.
been within the last 3 years that I accepted it and actually enjoy being called that now. But when people first were like, "Oh, you're such an artist," I'm like, "Ah, no, I mean, I don't like that." I'm trying to build, these. It's funny because it's like these aesthetic, professional, performance-driven guns. Um, but at the end of it, like, yeah, 100%. Like, I own it. I enjoy being called that. Like, it's fun. Like modern day art kind of stuff. But in our segment of the gun industry, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to touch on that, and it may not be a comparison that you necessarily appreciate, but there's a lot of artists in the AK community, the subculture of AK people. Um, a lot of really unique AKs. I think that they're modern art, and some people are like, one way or another. But For example, like this thing has a lot of modifications that are functional, and they're weld-on weldments and things that make the rifle work better for me. And it's also a pretty or at least interesting thing to look at. So I think you've done a great job in that what you do enhances the weapon's shootability, its speed, its handling, but also could be interpreted as art and is definitely very, each one is very individual.
Yeah. They're, like you said, it depending on the mindset of the person. Um, I think we all go through different journeys as gun owners, enthusiasts, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call it, from collecting and buying guns to carrying and shooting guns to whatever your shooting journey is. Like thinking about how I started out as a concealed carry holder to like, you know, primary gun, backup gun, 2 mags for each gun, 3 knives, tourniquet, like all the stuff to now like my favorite thing recently has been carrying a 5-shot J frame in my pocket, right?
Yeah, baby.
Um, so it's just like you kind of acquire a different perspective or taste for things, and like yeah, like you just see a gun and you're like that's sexy, which equates to like modern art in our mind, right? It'd
Mm.
just be a gun to someone else, modern art to someone else. I mean, this blue gun that's over here it's one of a kind. I could never replicate it again. And there's a lot of guns out there that are like that. Like it's just a one of one. And the cool thing is, at this stage of the game, a lot of people know like either our shop did it or if it's a job like that, that I personally did that, and those are floating around. And hopefully will outlive me and be passed around however that goes. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see.
So, what were some of the toughest lessons that you learned in those first couple years when you were, it's all fun and games when you take your guns or you
Mhm.
take your friends' guns and you might be charging a little bit, but you're gaining those experience points, man.
But when
You're
you got to pay the mortgage and stuff, like,
but once you were like, all right, we're going out, we're going to do this, and what were some of those tough lessons you learned?
Oh man, I mean, it was I slow like so. Back up a little bit. When I branded myself as Monsoon Tactical, and everybody knows Vinny from as Monsoon Tactical, and I actually have a business partner. His name is Zach. When it comes to the business side and running the brand forward as Monsoon Tactical, um, I had a very, I took my young adult career I was formerly a diesel mechanic. That was my trade. Very mechanically inclined with my hands. That's what also helps me in the field as well. I can to look at something, take it apart, put it back together, and it works. So that's important. Good, happy meal there. Um, and I was very hesitant on being an entrepreneur. Like I was just like, I'll
Mhm.
just do this for fun, do it on the side. There's no reason for me to do this. I make good money as a mechanic. I spent money to become a mechanic. But I loved what I was doing when I did it. Um, so I was just not in any kind of mental capacity to actually make the leap, so to speak. And
Yeah.
then when someone approached me at the time, I had a little bit of a different career shift. I got laid off from a job that I really liked. I went into another diesel job that I didn't like, and someone came to me with the opportunity to actually get paid full time, but again as an employee to work in the industry, but to basically bring what we're doing now to their business model. And he also, we negotiated, and I told him at that time I started building my brand. Um, and I was like, I want to continue to build my brand. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this as a like sub like a subcategory for your business. And then I'll bring in whatever else knowledge I know to help, branch off from there. So even then, that was for 2 years. I was still like just working as a normal dude in the industry. And I was actually forced to go into business for myself. Um, so, he basically said, hey, to make a long story short, he's like, hey, you're not going to have a job after this month. We're done. So I had an option to either go back to wrenching or continue to move forward with all the work that I had put in those last 2 years, and we decided to, and here we are. So it's
It's
odd because it's not like I started from nothing and just started to kind of do this. I kind of slow rolled it and built the brand in a safe way. And then, when we had to go all in, we were kind of already moving, if that makes any
yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
So,
mean,
um,
necessity necessity always necessity trumps all. So, if this was
yeah,
something that you were gonna do in the fun time and you were still wrenching doing your diesel work, and because diesel mechanics get paid pretty decent money.
Yeah.
So, you're
oh
out there
yeah,
doing the thing, and this is a hobby per se,
yep,
it's like, I'll do it when I need a little extra money, or when I wanna buy something or when, Christmas or if somebody calls me, but I'm not
mhm,
gonna pursue it really
yeah,
hard. But man, the moment the rubber hits the road and it's
Sink or
now
swim.
I gotta feed the
yeah,
family. Yeah, it's amazing, but
yeah.
it's also it's cool
It
how
was,
to
it was,
try.
yeah, it was the scariest thing to say yes to. At the time, I was just a single dude, didn't have a family at the time. I do now, but at the time, it was still scary to go all in on something like that. Um, and it worked out. All that hard like work in the back end paid off. We had an audience. They under like the way we came out and said how we were taking over and coming out as that brand. We had a lot of support and just continued to do the things that I felt was right in my heart and my gut, so to speak. Um, and we saw kind of a good byproduct of that, which was heavy growth year over year and figuring out those hurdles on how to manage that with either manpower, equipment, what have you, and the cost of doing business and all
Mm.
that stuff. So it was good pain that we had to grow through and figure out quickly, and we're still kind of dealing with that now. And as we get bigger, we're running into more of those issues, like we just had um, some trademark stuff come up that we had to deal with, and it's just part of business that if there's anything I can say for anyone that's wanting to potentially start a business, or do anything or execute an idea that you have, it's just the it's hard, right? Because some people like for me, I had a good job. There was no reason for me to not leave. But the more I got into doing what I'm doing now, life is too short. If you are everyone is
Mm.
inherently good at something. And at the end of the day, you just take a chance, and if you fail and you decide to not pick yourself back up and move forward, you can at least say you tried. But the worst thing or the best thing that can happen is it's successful, and you just do that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's again was the scariest but best thing I did, and I will probably do this until I die, hopefully, with the grace of everyone that supports us. So I would
Oh yeah.
just say again, if you have an opportunity to do it, just jump into doing it, and you're never gonna be ready. Like everyone's like, I'll do it when I'm ready or when I,
Mm.
figure something out. My biggest thing was like, I don't know how to open an LLC or get an FFL, and it was easy when I was forced to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like don't be too scared to just go do things. Go do some research and just do it. That's the Nike slogan, right?
just do it. I love it.
Yeah,
Well,
just do it.
a lot of people think it's you plan just right and then you launch this thing and it's just easy, but it's like you're always going to be running into hurdles because you're running. Like
Yeah.
there's going to be hurdles. Like you got to keep
If
on jumping and running. So if you
one
never
thing
start
that
running, you're
that
never going to see a hurdle.
yeah, and the one thing with like in what you guys have seen with like your podcast and stuff, and its success, if you end up doing something you love, you're not gonna have time off. Never.
Right.
Mm-mm.
It's
No.
always you're
24/7,
always
dude.
on to the next thing. It's 24/7. So like if you're not that kind of person, it might not be for you because you're gonna be working every day, all day, every day, for sure.
And it's interesting you say that though, but it's also we're all three guilty. I can't speak for you, Vinny, but I'm just assuming we're all three guilty at some point of not being the not being the the greatest husband or father because of the businesses that we're in, but we're doing that because we have the best intentions, or we have these ideas or these goals that are going to be better for the family.
Yes.
But you're exactly right. It's, if you have a goal, there's never going to be a right time to
Right.
do it. If you're making great money doing something and you're going to start a side hustle, it may be successful, but most likely it's not going to be as successful as it could have been. But
Correct.
when that necessity comes out, man, it human nature, we shift gears and we find something. But at the end of the day, the success story, Monsoon's not done by any stretch of the imagination right now, but you get to wake up every morning and go to work, and we all have those, oh man, I don't want to really go in today and, port this pistol or paint this thing or do whatever it is. But we get to do some really cool shit day in and day out. And it sure beats sitting at a cubicle. Hey, this is Vinny from customer service. How can I help you today? So like, dude, we're living the life, our small little section of life. Like, we're living it, man.
Yeah, like just you said, man, it's I the more, there's a lot of those cliche things that are said. If you do something you love every day, you'll never work a day in your life. I will unfortunately tell you that is bullshit. Once your passion becomes a job, it is a job. You just like it a little bit
Every day.
better and can tolerate it a little better than your original job. Um, once a passion slash hobby becomes a job, there are days where it's just like, I don't want to do this, but
Yeah.
you are still more motivated, even more so when it's your own business, to just get up and do the thing every day. And I think that is what I think they mean by if you do something you'll love, you'll never work a day in your life. It's true to that extent where it's just like it's easier for you to get up and do the thing because it's your own thing. This is your brand,
Right.
your passion, but it's still, there's days where it sucks. But at the same time, the good always outweighs the bad, even when you're getting just the shit sandwich of life when it comes in the waves and you're just like, well, here we go again. We just went through it a couple weeks ago. It's still worth getting up every day and just grinding it out. Um,
Yeah.
Man.
I wouldn't trade it for anything at this point in my life.
Right on. Well, Vinny, before we jump into what Monsoon is currently doing, let's take a quick break and hear from one of our sponsors.
Your workspace matters, and the Tipton Best Gun Vise 360 doesn't play around. Built for serious shooters, this vise locks down rifles, shotguns, and ARs with zero movement and full control. Tool-free adjustments, rock-solid clamping, and a 360-degree rotating cradle give you access from every angle. No shortcuts, no compromises. Whether you're building, cleaning, or dialing in, this vise was made to keep up. Tipton Best Gun Vise 360. Built to hold, built to work.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Vinny, we're going to jump right into it. But before we get started, we've got another segment for you. This segment, the rapid fire, is brought to you by our friends over at EOTech. Don't forget to use Whiskey 10 at checkout to save yourself a little money. All right, Vinny, let me get I lost my rapid fires. There we go. All right, so quick succession, kind of 1-word, 2-word answers, and we'll see how fast we can pump them up. All right, Vinny.
All right.
First firearm you ever owned?
EAA EAA Witness 45 ACP.
All right. AR or AK?
Ooh, probably AR.
Thank you.
Glock or SIG?
What was that?
Glock or SIG?
Oh, Glock all day, man.
Stipple or full grip reconstruction?
You keep cutting out. You said stipple or full grip reconstruction?
Correct, yes.
Full grip reconstruction.
Favorite polymer pistol to work on?
Glock.
Do you like whiskey neat or on the rocks?
Neat.
Range toy or duty gun?
Range toy.
Iron sights or red dots?
Red dot.
Favorite tool in your shop?
Ooh. The Bridgeport. Our manual mill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You can do all kinds of
I was like, I had no clue what that thing is. Like,
Requires some
yeah, the
real skill
Bridgeport.
there. It's older than everybody here.
It's an adult etch a sketch. It erases stuff though.
I've never heard it put that way.
That's true.
Bucket list firearm to work on.
Probably an HKP7. That'd be
Mm.
pretty cool.
Oh,
That's a scary one to work
he wants
on.
to bring some disrespect to the P7. I like
He
that.
wants to piss off a bunch of Germans. I love that. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. That's what we need to do.
One modification every pistol should have.
You definitely should have stippling.
Polymer or metal frames forever.
Polymer.
Beer, bourbon, or tequila.
Bourbon.
Water.
All right. My
Water.
man. Water. If you could collab with one other shop, brand, or creator, who would it be?
Man, dude, that's a tough one. I really don't know right now because we just been doing. If I had to pick one, just like off the hip, can it be a manufacturer?
Yeah. Get it.
I would say Staccato would be cool to actually collab with,
Mm.
but that would
Heck
never
yeah.
happen.
And what is your EDC today?
J-frame.
It is a Smith & Wesson J-frame.
Hell yeah. All right. That was
Yep.
rapid fire. You killed it.
So that's
Yep.
man, yeah. That really
That
will
brings some insight.
It does. It definitely does. So for the listeners that may not be familiar, when you use the term polymer surgery, how does that change the shooting experience for the end user?
So I mean, it just depends, right? I would say, steel guns were what a lot of people used early on. Polymer guns are pretty new, and they're pretty much what we expect nowadays. And then there's a resurgence in steel frames now. So there's nothing natural about a gun, period. Like, especially a handgun, right? Got to hold this thing. It's in the shape of an L. And then you got all these engineers that think they know what a human hand is supposed to like, or what it's supposed to feel like to grip this thing with a human hand. It's their perception on what a good grip should feel like. So very few guns that I have worked on have really just nothing needs done to this. Like, there's always, and that's just me being nitpicky, there's always something, a part of the frame that I can dehorn or meld or reshape or put some texture on to make it just that, call it 10% better. And then that, combines into just an overall better gun. So it can literally be a night and day difference depending on how deep we go on a frame modification for someone. Glocks have always been kind of the staple. If you're going to get into this, that's the platform that you learn on. There's a lot of forgiveness on that gun that you can do things to. There's a lot of creative things that you can do from the perspective of making it more ergonomic for someone. And it's you are, they call us polymer surgeons for a reason. We are just reconstructing the gun to, in our image, what we feel like is the best. And again, that's our kind of like we talked about earlier, interpretation of what we want, and hopefully will translate into what other people and users will want. So literally night and day difference between, like, sending a chick in for a nose job and a boob job, and she comes out different, right? That's legitimately what we're doing on guns. So
Hell yeah. Right now, because I know, we've been talking about stippling, and I want to get into some other stuff too. But just talking in, just generalities here, what is the most popular pistol platform that you're seeing right now? What's the high demand right now? I know it'll change, but at this moment.
it changes depending on the pulse of the industry and how well I have a hold on that, right? But right now, what's hot, I could say that the top three platforms that we're working on are, and this is like not specific brand because it's very umbrellaed. Number one probably would be 2011 right now for us. Um, right behind that would be the M&P 2.0 series of guns. And then probably right behind that's going to be Glock, and everything else underneath it is pretty even neck and neck as far as the plethora of things that we get in there. So I mean, like Chat GPT said, we work on anything and everything. If we feel like we can work on it, um, we worked on some obscure shit that we probably will never see again in our lives. And that's always fun and cool to do. But I would say those three, 2011 platform, M&P series, and the Glock are the top three right now. And then everything else. Well, actually, the Bodyguard 2.0 has been very popular for us right now too. So, which I guess would fall under the M&P. But
Yeah.
and
Right on.
again, like you said, that kind of changes. But the 2011 has been pretty prominent since they became hot for
There's
us
a
because
run
we were
on them.
pretty early on that train. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's a run on
2024, 25 was like that's the year of the 2011s. Like it's been going crazy.
Yeah.
But it's a
It's
best
been
case
going.
scenario. I was going to say it's a best case scenario though, because you have people like Staccato that, there were a few, but you come out with a double stack and you're kind of alone in this category for a couple years. And so it allowed you guys to get some time to gain some ground, gain some knowledge, gain some techniques and some
Mhm.
implements, systems that are going to improve it. And then when all these other ones come out, I won't name names, but you can buy some sub, $1,200 pistols that you can now send in and do some work and get some things done to that, they when they come back to you, they are punching well above their weight class compared to
Yes.
what you spent. So that value, um, you know, how I tell people is you end up it ends up costing you about the same amount in the long run, but it kind of gives you a little reprieve in the middle. So it's, hey, I'm going to buy on the front end, spend a little bit, then I'm going to get it, save up a little bit of money, shoot it, realize its shortcomings, send it off, come back. By that point, I have bought a higher end 2011 um, once I spend the money with someone like you guys. But when it comes back, you actually appreciate the difference, and I think there's something to be said for that. Um, shooting a Nighthawk, shooting a Staccato, shooting an Infinity, shooting some of these top tier names out of the box, most of them are great.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said, and you do work on that kind of stuff, but also to take a an underdog per se and do some work on it and it come out and people say, I actually prefer that over brand X. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, that mindset and that avenue to go allows more people to enter the realm or the arena, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
We try to be as fair as possible, and I always want our services to be affordable as possible with the economy and all the stuff. Things change, but I still want to be able to, like, at a minimum, someone can come and spend a couple $100 with us and get something, right?
Yeah.
Or they can spend a lot of money and get all the things. It's just, I want to have that avenue for people to go down. And like you were saying, 2024, 2025, I'm expecting even, there were definitely some manufacturers on my bingo card I did not expect to come out with some kind of version of a 2011.
Yeah.
And like you said, like some guy can't afford it's subjective because you just tell them to save, but like that's
Yeah.
that's the easy way out of that conversation. Like, oh, just save up the money. Which is like, well, some people can't do that, right?
Mhm.
Some people have bills they need to pay, and like they can't afford, like that money that they were saving might have to go to that. So maybe they can afford an $900, $1,200 2011 and get that gun and play with it and then get some more money and then send it off and get some work done and take it to the next level. And they're part of that process and part of that vision. It's a lot different than just buying a gun and shooting it, So
Yeah.
um that's what we've seen the most is just like people like to get involved with their builds. They like to get some insight on, hey, what do you think this needs? This is what I want to see from the perspective of like what I want to aesthetically look like. And it's always fun for us to be able to bring that to them.
Yeah.
um it's it's part of the customization, whether it's cars, motorcycles, watches, whatever. um there's just something about that that's inherently fun to do. So
Yeah.
like
Well,
as an end user and someone supplying the service.
yeah, I was going to say, and also, enough of the, if you got it, of course, flaunt it. Tupac said that, but at the same time, like flexing is only going to go so far. Like if you're flexing beyond your means, there's no point in trying to flex. And in this industry, it's always the new hotness. It's always the new, hey, I've
Yep.
got this. Oh, I've bought that. Oh, I paid this. And some of it, even when you buy it, it's not really worth that money, but you bought it because you had to have it. And
Right.
it's refreshing to know that, like, man, you don't necessarily have to flex, or even if it's not the flex, let's just pretend you bought the, the pistol that you owned 10 years ago was the first one you bought, and it didn't even come with an optics cut. And now the new trend is the red dot, and I'm behind it. I mean, it makes things so much more accurate. You're so much more accurate. Your follow-up shots are better. You know, everything is better when you put an optic on it. So, man, I really love this gun. I love the way it shoots. Or, hey, I just don't have the money to buy another gun, but I want to
Yeah.
do something. And you guys can do optics cuts for, you know, somewhere in the ballpark of $250 or less in,
Hmm.
in most cases, which puts people in the game because you don't have to keep that gun in the safe and go buy a brand new gun and then try to outfit this other thing and worry about getting in trouble with the wife or the husband for that matter. I mean, if you're a lady out there shooting. And so it's just nice to know that, man, you're not just stuck in this one scenario. You've got some options and you can change some things up. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're not pigeonholed into that and you have a safe full of guns, I mean, you both have a collection of guns behind you that guns could be, 10, you bought it 10 years ago and you love it. And, you just like, hey, I have this thing. I want to do something cool. We get a lot of that. It's like, hey, I got
Yeah.
this gun, had it forever, thought about getting rid of it, but never could. So I think I'm just going to do some stuff to it. And then it ends up becoming their new favorite gun, which is very cool. You just kind of rekindle an old relationship and take it to that next level or into the next era of the industry with red dots and all that other stuff, porting, whatever you want. And you basically like like you said, it's kind of cool to dig something from the back of the safe, take it through the spa treatment and come out with something that you can enjoy for a little while. And
Mhm.
again, you could do it for the price of another firearm, a cheaper firearm. Like if you actually go through and price some things out, you can do some cool stuff for very little money. So um
Yeah.
Well,
and even if it's just the mild side of, like you said, mounting a red dot, like we do a lot of just red dot cuts. Like not everyone's into everything else, but they're like, I want a red dot on my old gun. Cool, gotcha. Easy,
holy, holy hell, this thing's hot. But man, it's really hot. But no, but seriously, there's some guns you just like, oh gosh, I don't want to touch that. But at the same time, like all of us, we carry firearms, most of the time on a daily, and we're willing to protect, our family and our property if need be, but none of us hope for that. All of us really just want to go out and shoot cool shit with our friends and shoot targets and all that. So anything that will get you to take that one gun out of the safe that isn't your favorite and actually breathe some life back into it and make it one of the guns that is in rotation, even on the range. I mean, it's a win because otherwise it's just sitting there. And
Right.
even if it's a gun that's, you know, of little value, just the fact that like, well, I won't get much money for it, so there's no point in selling it. Like, then let's do something to it to make you want to bring that thing out and shoot it, whether it be a Cerakote job, whether it be, you know, putting an optics cut on it, whether it be just a full, like you said, a full day at the spa and come out with, you know, a complete masterpiece. Like, these guns are meant to be shot. And I understand there are some safe queens and there are some guns you really wouldn't want to modify. But for the most part, anything that's going to get you to grab that thing and take it to the range and shoot it, I mean, it's better than it just sitting there collecting dust.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. It's the next
Years and
fun
years ago.
project. I mean, every guy that we talk to that has been a repeat customer is like, we dig something up for next year. It's like a game. It's like collecting like muscle cars or something for them. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
Yeah, there's way before all of this when I was just a kid just starting to carry. I used to carry a USP compact, and I trade and sold that gun off for a more modern handgun that was, you know, had aftermarket support, and now people optic cut USPs, and I'm like,
Yep.
I miss my USP compact. Like, I really want it
Yeah.
back. I want to
Yeah.
modernize it a little bit. So,
Yep.
really cool
And
that
that
you
like
guys.
resto mods have been very
Yeah.
hot lately, and
Woo.
we're
I
getting
like
in. I
me
mean,
some
we've done
resto
a
mod.
handful of them too, but like it's very interesting to see this old milsurp stuff or whatever older guns kind of come in and get some funk thrown on it. You know,
Hell
so I'm
yeah.
into it. I'm into
Good.
it.
So, Vinny, run us through a build process, right? Like, if somebody's going to come to you with a gun and they want this, that, and this, like, how do you help the customer balance aesthetics and functional improvements? Like, will you just go all aesthetics, or if it's going to have your name on it, it's doing both?
So I mean, like from the Cerakote perspective of things, if it's just Cerakote, that's all visual aesthetics kind of thing, and it does protect the firearm. It does help with
Yeah.
corrosion and rust. It's from that aspect of what it's for. But what we're doing with Cerakote's strictly visual, with a layer of protection for the gun, right? From there, you know, when it comes to like any grip modifications or porting, or slide cuts, that's all very performance based, with aesthetics being very close second. So again, it just depends on the person. You know, we get phone calls every day. We still answer the phone. Oddly enough, apparently that's something that's dying in the industry. Nobody
It
likes
is.
to actually talk to their customers via phone call. I prefer that. I hate emails.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Zach prefers to talk via email. I would rather talk to you on the phone. I think it's just a more direct way to get the point across. I can read emotion better, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, um, but if someone were to call me and they're like, hey, you know, I want this, this, and this, and I kind of have to almost be a therapist and find out, you know, well, why? You know, what goal are you trying to get to? And, you know, like what kind of shooter are you? Are you looking for this, that, and the other thing? So, I kind of have to. They honestly rely and lean on us a lot for our perspective on why we do certain things. And a lot of the guys that we get are pretty seasoned shooters. They're either, you know, USPSA guys. They train a lot, and it's just like we kind of steer them a different direction than we would someone new. So
Right.
for instance, if I have a USPSA guy whose fundamentals are heavily locked in and he can shoot a gun regardless if it's modified or not, I'm going to point him towards the more higher performing modifications that's going to aid him as that kind of shooter. So like our Genghis comp or our chunk port would be the porting option that I would be like, this is what you're going to want. Um, Depending on the gun, again, frame modification to me, stippling is always going to help you. So like are you a pussy? Do you want less aggressiveness, or do you want like, really aggressive texture that's going to lock in your hands? And we'll kind of make that connection on like, yeah, I want something in the middle. Okay, cool. This is the texture that you want for that. And all the aesthetics just follow that recipe based off of our time and experience doing it. So it's kind of like a autopilot thing where when we just do it, it just looks good and the performance is built into that based off of all of, what we found was the best recipe over the years of doing it. So it literally can just tailor depending on the person. Or again, just like word of mouth. Lucky Sevens is probably the most the biggest porting service that we offer as a whole. And it's one of our softest shooting packages. It's replicated a lot in the industry now, like that style of port, the number of ports, like people have like kind of copied our homework a little bit for lack of a better term. Um, and you know, a lot of people go that route because it is just a softer shooting gun, and a lot of people are just looking for that. So that's why I kind of have to be a therapist and find out what they want.
So, so do you take, how do I say this? So, do you run into jobs that aesthetically are not something that you're willing to do, or is almost everyone giving you a pretty long leash and creative freedom on that kind of stuff?
So
Like, I
there's
want to paint
only
my gun
been
pink and purple, and I want you to spray paint real flames on it.
like there's only been ever since I started doing like the shells. Oh my god, I can't say that. The manga comic book paint jobs.
Yeah.
It's got a particular name. It's called cell shading. Can't really say
Yes.
that like fast. It always messes with me,
It's
tongue
all right.
twister. Um, I've had some people really push me hard on those kind of jobs
Okay.
because they're trying to make like direct parallels to like an anime or something. They want like this specific character, and I have yet to not be able to pull one off. But let me tell you, it takes a lot of time for me to get the juices flowing, and I like unadmittedly will say like I've had to do them multiple times on occasion to get it
So
the right way.
so I've got a camera lens that you're kind of speaking to that
Yep,
con-
that's fucking dope.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it's vinyl.
Yeah.
So don't you worry.
Okay.
Nobody painted this.
Yeah. He's like,
So
that's sick.
yeah, well, of course it's sick. A printer
Yeah.
make
But a
but
laser printer made it.
that's the kind of look, and so I
Ooh,
want to
show
see
and tell.
yours.
Show and
Yes.
tell.
Yes.
So this camera's horrible.
Yeah. Well, that's
No, it got in close enough. It's looking good.
I don't know, dude, Matt. That looks like the first one I ever Cerakoted. I'm lying through my teeth. Yeah, dude, those things look so good.
This was the first one I did. I don't know how well. Like
Is that a
it's gotten
34?
so much better. No, it was that's an STI Eagle 2011. This is gonna be probably hard as hell to see on the camera, but um, oh yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to see that.
That's not gonna work.
That's all right. Send me a picture. We'll pop it up.
There we
Yeah,
go.
we'll pop it up. It's still
Send a
not the
picture,
best.
we'll
I'll
pop it
send
up.
you a picture. But like, that's that exact style has gotten very popular. I stole that from the automotive world.
Yeah.
I pull a lot of inspiration from different industries, which I
Yeah.
think gives us the edge. I'm always looking different avenues. I'm not just tunnel vision in the firearms industry itself. Like I've seen some cool shit in cars that I want to eventually try to do on a gun finish wise.
Dude.
Just
Most gun dudes are also car dudes.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I'm stuck. I still remember it was called for the longest time, it was called Mystic Paint from, the Cobras, the Ford Mustang Cobras that, other people call it the flip flop paint or the color changing paint. And that's awesome. And then I also like thermochromatic paint where you paint it and it lays on a base layer. You paint your base layers and do all the things, and then you basically put this layer in the clear coat, and whether it be white, black, gray, green, you name it, and as it heats up or cools off, it goes clear and the base colors come through, and those are freaking awesome. I've done one on a suppressor, and they're freaking, dude, it is so cool to do.
Those are fun.
But
Yeah, there's a lot of different like styles bleeding into the industry as far as like that chameleon style paint or that candy style paint.
Mhm.
You know, this style, you know, again, I saw the car industry guys doing it. I'm like, how do I apply this to a gun and make it work? Because it's not the same, you know, kind of paint that we're dealing with here. So how do I mix a ceramic based paint with a, you know, acrylic paint and get it to stick and get it to be protected and all this other stuff and figuring out that problem. So it's been fun to really, and you know, like our CCH finish is something that, you know, was a product from a different kind of industry and brought over to make that work. And, you know, it's that innovation in itself that a lot of people don't really think about or see. I think has been the most fun to try to figure out all these different ways to do different things to guns, you know, outside of your typical blue bath or DLC or something, which is beautiful, but you can't get as creative, at least, you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff, you know.
yeah, so we've kind of hit on, well, I know we've hit on stippling. I know we've hit on some polymer surgery, some Cerakote. We've talked about a little bit of optic cuts. So let's talk about, man, I want to talk about what I'm excited about, and it's the porting and the Genghis comp. So
Yep.
with the porting, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and you answer this the best way you possibly can. Other than, hey, it's your own, you know, it's your stuff, you do what you want to do. But I see a lot of people that discount true legit porting. And
Mhm.
you hear people, oh, that's easy, man. I could easily sit there and, you know, use a whatever and cut a window in the top of my slide. And I can press that thing between my knees and grab my DeWalt drill, and I can drill me 1, 2, 3, 7 holes of whatever. Hell, I'll make it look like a flute, whatever. And I'm going to drill these things, and that's not that hard to do. I don't know why people think that it's so special. I can do that at home, you know, but there is some magic to that. So talk a little bit about, I don't want you to give away the sauce, but talk about a little bit about the R&D and the research that went in behind you guys perfecting things like the Lucky Sevens or the Genghis comp, or even, you know, going a little smaller like the Lucky Threes, or, you know, the chunk ports.
Yeah, man. So, like you were saying, there's a lot of interesting port jobs on Reddit that you can like home brewed garage
Oh
just
no.
You,
trash
you don't
that
need
you can
Monsoon
find.
Tactical. We got port at
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got a guy
and
who'll
you
do it
know,
cheaper.
port at home.
yeah, and it's at some point you're kind of right. You know, there's a lot of different methods to the madness as far as how different people come to different solutions and how they feel like their porting system is going to be better, whether they're using flow dynamics and stuff like that. You know, our buddy Jeremy at Vulcan, another very good shop that does good work. We're friends. They lean very heavily on their flow dynamic design work and seeing what it's going to look like in computer form to give them the best result that they feel viable, right? Um, we don't use flow dynamics on our end. A lot of it has been just a little bit of trial and error, which I think is okay. Um, Finding out the positioning, the size, and the spacing for the more traditional ports in themselves has just landed us where we are, right? Just years of sweat equity and finding out what's going to work the best. Um, and that's what we just landed on, right? And then from there, perfecting and having a good SOP to repeat that job cleanly, to not have any burrs in the rifling when we're done, um, to make sure that you know we have the ballistic data on the differences of velocities that we're going to get and what kind of accuracy we're going to get, if there's going to be any degradation of accuracy or not. Like we're able to back that up with our own like just basic methods of testing things on that side of the porting, right? So it's just years of R&D and always changing. And I'm actually looking to do another iteration of the Lucky Sevens, particularly at some point here within the next year or so. And we're going to start playing with that and seeing if it's worth doing, you know? Um,
Right.
the Genghis comp and the chunk port honestly have their own set of math problems and just know how to make those work properly. There's actually some things that go into that. I won't spill the sauce too hard, but you know, there are some things if you're a competent gunsmith or understand certain technologies in the industry, if you do it wrong, it's not gonna work. You're gonna have some issues that can arise. We ran into them, we figured out how to fix them, and you know that at that point it's just we are built like the Genghis comp for 2011 is, to my knowledge, the first integral comp cut in a barrel that I know of.
Yep.
When we launched it, a lot of people gave us a lot of praise on it. They were like, "That's very innovative," and you know now you're seeing it everywhere. Springfield's doing it from the factory, and a couple other places are doing like chunk port variants from the factory now. So, and us being have done it so long, we can actually look at the manufacturers and be like, they either did this the wrong way or the right way. Um, and funny enough, a lot of them are going the wrong way, but they're doing it the wrong way, but the right way, if that makes sense. They're taking the safer um route to do it. Where we're on that critical edge of this works at its most optimal performance because we're talking about thousandths of an inch. If you go over a certain number, then it's not going to be as effective as if it were tighter, right? That's it's
Right.
to just kind of leave it
Right.
there. So when we actually integrally comp the barrel and give it an expansion chamber, um, from there it's just like what kind of volume do we need to keep this round stable, accurate, and actually do work. And from there, again, it's just playing with the sizing. Obviously, the positioning and all that stuff is pretty straightforward. It's at the very front of the gun. But again, exit diameters, crowning, all that stuff comes into play, like your basic gunsmithing stuff. And we just keep refining that product, like the Genghis comp that started out as the chunk port for the 2011 has evolved as of recently. Has it's at its most um, newest iteration only happened probably 4 months ago. Um, so we're always evolving and making our product or services better. It's not set in stone. Like I could change something tomorrow. It could be like, hey, let's go an extra thou on this dimension, and it could give us just a little bit more performance on the accuracy side, so to speak. So, and then we adapt that technology and SOP that we came up with to the different guns based off of the size of the gun. Point in case, I don't know when this podcast is coming out, but you know, I got the new Staccato HD here, and it's a small guy, so we had to shrink the technology down to fit this gun to keep it accurate and all that other stuff. And it's awesome. So it's just trial and error, locking in like a recipe that works and then adapting it as we go. So,
Yeah. So for people that are listening, before Matt jumps in, for people listening, I'm sitting here while we're listening to you talk about the things that you can do in customizing, and I'm looking at the porting and I'm looking at all of the good things. And for anyone interested that's listening right now, definitely check out Monsoon Tactical. It's monsoontactical.com. And if you go to the customize and you go to the porting page right now, you can go to the Lucky Threes for your subcompacts, or you can go to the Lucky Sevens. And if you're just wanting to get it back to, let's just go back to black, like we're not going to do anything crazy. I mean, you're talking $200 to $225 to get a Lucky 7 port and your barrel as well as your slide re-cerakoted for the 3 port option or the 7 port option, between 200 and 225. That may vary a bit, but I'm looking at the site and it's really a value that if you're looking to take that snappy pistol or take that thing that, you know, you just feel like I could be more accurate with this, or I wish it was just a tad flatter, or I wish I could, you know, return to target a little bit quicker. And I mean, $200, guys. I mean, it's not that much money. So just wanted to go ahead and say that, because as you're talking about these things, I'm literally going down your website
It's well
and watching
priced.
stuff, and that's I don't even want to say well priced. I mean, that's a steal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a very fair price. Now,
I
of course,
don't. I hate to say it, but we've had a lot of people say that we're very cheap, and I don't know if that's good or bad.
well,
Sometimes,
well, it's going to
Um,
be a give and take, I guess, because you're
yeah,
gonna say, like, if I sent you one, Vinny, and you sent it back to me and said, "Hey, I'll have it back to you not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday," hell yes, you are entirely too cheap. But that's also because you're turn around and you'd never see your family and you'd never sleep or eat or shower or anything. But with a turnaround time that is acceptable considering the amount of work that you guys are getting. I mean, $200, 225 is a steal. And if you want to go ahead and add that second color or multiple colors, I mean, it's going to go up, but I mean, it is it's one of those bang for your bucks.
yeah.
It's just as good as putting an optic on.
Like on the high end, I think a 2011 build is the most expensive thing you can really do if you go all out. And even then, I don't like you could build a 20, like just say a staccato, because that's mainly a lot of our modifications are based off of that platform.
Yeah.
Staccato P, very easy gun to just kind of parallel there. If you went all in with everything that we offer, from the highest porting system to the windows to some crazy paint and stippling, you might be into an entire custom build for $1,000 or less.
Mm.
Wow.
And then you can go to a Glock. The framework scale kind of changes there. It can be really expensive for framework because we can just do more. There's more hand done elements on those guns specifically. But even then, like say you went high end on the Glock for the framework and a Lucky Sevens, and you just didn't do anything crazy with the paint, you're gonna be like $500 to do a Gucci Glock, basically.
Hell yeah.
So, I mean, like I said in the beginning, like I want to be as fair as possible, and um, we understand that there are some things we do that are more expensive, and we've been questioned on some of those things, but like the Genghis, the 2011 stuff, nobody's really barked about. Polymer stuff, no one's really barked about. I mean, for the most part, a lot of people think that our value is there. And then obviously our lead times are a little bit higher, but I was literally having a conversation with someone about this earlier today. It was just like, I remember the days when I could turn a job in a couple days or a week. And
Yeah.
the what you see on our website as far as our lead times is just well, not unfortunately, but is the the fruits of success and being
Mhm.
wanted in the industry and being people that want us to do the work for them because of the reputation that we've built in the industry for doing good, clean work that's reliable and accurate and all that other stuff. They're leaning more on the brand and they don't care how long it takes. And then again, with our queue system, it really alleviates a lot of the issue anyway. um, so I at some point, maybe next year when we move the shop, we get the new building, we get a new machine, we'll cut those lead times back down like we did last year, and then get you know destroyed again. That's just
Go back up
again
again.
the yeah, the just like we talked about the good pains of business that we're experiencing. It's just like it's a manpower problem. The supply is high, or I mean the demand is very high, but the manpower supply is very low on our end. So there's 3 guys producing, 4 guys in total in our shop, and we're cranking out inventory like 80 to 100 orders a week. And that's been nonstop for the last few years. So
Build
it's been
yourself
great.
Right
up.
on.
Build yourself up so everyone else can tear you down. That's kind of how it goes, man.
Well, I think that's respectable though, Vinny. Like you said, you were just a guy who was, wanting to have his own custom guns, and here you are now on, you're reaching a certain level of success here, and you still have your services priced so that a blue collar guy can afford to have his
Correct.
own custom gun. Um,
Yes.
there's way too many times in this industry we see somebody gets a little a little bit of success, and then all of a sudden they're outpriced. Like, you can't, a regular guy like me, you and Mike can no longer afford their custom services. So hats off
Yeah.
to you guys for that.
Yep. I mean,
Um,
and it's been great. It pays the bills and everyone gets paid. So that's all I can ask for, you know?
oh yeah. Well, before we talk about the future of Monsoon Tactical, let's take another quick break and hear from our sponsors. Go get a drink.
When precision matters, every detail counts. The Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDropper 2.0 takes accuracy to the next level with advanced sensors, a sleek touchscreen, and effortless calibration. Whether you're fine-tuning or loading in volume, the IntelliDropper 2.0 ensures confidence in every drop. Frankfurt Arsenal, precision starts here.
All right, guys, we are back and we are with Vinny from Monsoon Tactical. And Vinny, I do want to ask you though, when it comes to all these customizations, how do you balance aesthetics with functional improvement?
Well, kind of just to bring everything that we talked about together, it was just like all that time and sweat equity to figure out how we wanted to do certain things, along with just repetitively doing everything over time and just honing in and again making changes as we see fit to make it a better service or product. Just it automatically happens. Like we have what we want, the recipe's there. Now we just have to execute at a high level every day, you know, and then we get that blend of that aesthetic with that close or that performance being number one with that very close second aesthetic just right behind it as a byproduct of just executing at a high level, you know. So everyone is switched on at the shop. Everyone has their own skill set and their own disciplines that they have to just be switched on for every day. And you know, like we talked about before, I was a diesel mechanic, and I could work a 12-hour shift throwing around, you know, as a diesel mechanic working on heavy trucks, throwing around heavy transmissions, drive lines, brakes, working on vehicles for 12 hours at a time. If I sit at a stippling table for 7 hours, I'm smoked. So it's just like a different level of mental fortitude that you need to have to operate at that level. You know what I mean? So it's just a byproduct of everything that we talked about in this podcast. You know, just it all just culminates and comes together.
Oh yeah.
So Vinny, I mean, I know as a custom gun builder, there's a lot of really cool custom stuff you get to do. But what would you say is your most popular service, like just the bread and butter of Monsoon?
um, I would say we have two. The Genghis comp, and it's on its own right for the 2011 is one of our flagship porting packages. And then our Lucky Sevens. Like I would say, we are definitely more machining heavy on the porting side right now.
Okay.
And then all of the framework that we do is just very signature as well. Like there's just that it's the when you have a full build done and you have all the flagship porting done to it and the framework on its own, it's like just the artist's signature on the entire gun. You know what I mean? So I would say just everything that we do, if you have a full build from us, like that is like the pinnacle of what we offer.
All right. So I gotta ask, um, we've kind of talked about it and we've danced around it a little bit, but when I say this, I mean no disrespect, but we got XC at home. So let's go ahead and talk about this because looking at I've made no qualms about this. I've got a P that I want to do some things to. I want
Mikey
an
was
X.
shopping on the break, it sounds
Well,
like.
yeah, I want an XC, but there's a I don't it's not about a flex. It's about how I can make my money work for me and how I can make my money stretch farther. And, you know, XC wasn't in the cards for me when I did the P. And, you know, I like the P, but I want a little bit more value out of it. And if I send my P to you and I say, hey man, Vinny, I need you to get this as close to an XC, and let's just take the P out of it. Let's throw it out the window. Let's just say any full size 2011 double stack, whatever you want to call it, 1911, and it's, hey man, I just don't have 4,000 and change to put into an XC, you know, what can you do for me? Where do we go from there when I make that call?
Yeah, so there's a handful of ways this can go, right? Let's start with the first thing where you had your staccato P. Uh,
Okay.
I will stand on, like, in today's age, with all the 2011s that are out there right now, the staccato P C2, like the normal guns, flagship guns that they came out with that kind of made them popular, is the price to entry for a 2011 that you are going to buy and be able to use without anything done to it. Meaning, I don't have to go in there as a gunsmith to make it run. You're going to buy this gun for $2,500, $2,300, depending on when you bought it, or if it's used, and it's going to work. Okay. Um, some people might not like that, especially with the surge of the Turcado market and the Gersons and the T sauces and all these other very, very, like Polymer budget money, like $800 2011s coming out,
Yeah.
that have a lot of potential. So and we'll get back to those guns here in a second, but a staccato, our MVC windows, pays a little bit of homage to the older STI days. It lightens up the gun. It looks cool. Our dual porting system with our Genghis comp and our Lucky 3 is going to just give you the best recoil impulse possible with that progressive porting system and that mass drive of the comp, which is going to give you very XC vibes. I will say that everything that we're going to do is going to get very, very close. But at the same time, the XC is just built different. Like, it's just a completely different way of how they built the gun with the island comp. But to me, those two just machining methods on their own, whether you want to do grip stippling or not, I think we did the math on this. Like under $1,000, like $945, you do stippling and those two machining mods, you're gonna have XC at home. On
Hell
the
yeah.
staccato side,
Yeah.
right? So, and then even just the porting system that we talked about on different guns with some spring changes and stuff is going to be very close to XC at home. The only thing that is legitimately like Kraft macaroni and cheese and great value would be the Gerson Match X versus the XC. We built one for PewView. We built one for ourselves. It is literally a $900 XC, in that it's built with a island barrel comp on a 5-inch platform, and it's a 2011. However, you are going to have to sink some money into it to get it up to snuff to be considered XC at home. From what we've seen out of the box for people that actually run a gun, it's going to eventually die. So you're talking about a grip swap, you're talking about internal changes, and then like what we did for PewView, we recut it for a different optic system so you can get better optics on it. And we actually did add porting to that system. And if you know who PewView is, very good shooter. He runs the brakes off of guns.
Oh
It
yeah.
actually we made that or built that gun for him. It's on YouTube. It's got a crazy amount of views if you want to see that review on it. And he did a recent top 5 2011s, and he owns a lot of them,
Uh-huh.
and it made the top 5. He texted me and said it's obnoxious how good this gun shoots. It kind of pisses me off because all in, I think that gun was under $2,000, like decked out everything.
Oof.
So to me, that is like the XC at home, if you want to put some work in, right? So it's definitely going to require a little bit more. If you go the staccato route, just some machining at the minimum, call it $650 to do the machining. And then we go the Gerson route, you're probably going to spend about the same amount of money in parts and labor that the gun costs to get it up to that. But again, you're talking, let's say $2,500 on the high end to get that gun versus a $4,500 XC.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah,
pretty gnarly
but
that there are options like that nowadays.
yeah,
So
but again, hats off to Staccato for building the XC, but the XC is a user specific firearm. It is a
yep.
it's a competition driven firearm, and you know, all things being equal, you ask anybody who's into, double stack 1911s, hey, I've got this extra XC laying around. Do you want it? Everybody, I don't care if you hate staccato or not, everybody's going to say, oh, hell yeah, give me that thing. And they're going to want that thing. So,
It's used
It
as
set
the
the standard.
benchmark.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
It
the
set the
standard.
standard.
yeah, and people that say, oh, I don't like staccato, or I don't like the XC, or it's overrated or whatever. I'm not going to say they can't afford it because I don't know their financial situation, but most people, there's something else that stems from that. It's an outstanding firearm. But if you don't have that money, or, if you do, but you just want to buy 2 guns, 3 guns, 4 guns, that's all the money you have. And you're like, man, I got this tied up. I really don't want to put it all in one firearm. I'd like to own a rifle or 2 pistols and, a shotgun, something, it's nice to know that people like you have, I don't know, alternative methods to give them that, that feeling that's pretty damn close, and get the, I don't know, get the same reaction, the same, the same similar shooting experience for lesser value at home. So I think that's great.
Yeah, everyone's trying to find a way to save a little bit, right? If you can save half the amount of money on a gun that's close, again, it's not going to be exact. Again, they set the standard, they set the benchmark for that particular style of firearm, and you got other companies having renditions of that gun that actually are more expensive.
Yeah.
2011s are just inherently expensive to make. People that don't understand, trying to educate you a little bit, like the parts. If you were to source those parts in America yourself, you're going to pay at least $2,000 to get all the parts you need to build your own 2011, not including all the proprietary tooling you need to do the job. So the fact that TSOS Military Armament was able to come in with a 2011 sub $1,500, it's pretty impressive. But again, you're getting that amount of quality for that money. And honestly, you could very well, just our experience. We did get some of the guns early. I've heard other people have good success. Some people are just buying the Match X, the Gerson, the XC at home, and they're running them and they work just fine. And it's close, A lot of people are running some of the TSOS double stacks and they're running just fine. But when they die, it's kind of one of the things you expect it to happen. And then from there, you kind of get a mess with and tinker. Like a lot of people, I think, as gun people, like that aspect of being able to modify, change things on their own. And if they have to outsource to a professional, they can.
Yeah.
So, Vinny, what is next for Monsoon? What new services do we have coming? Collaborations, business expansion? What's the future look like for you guys?
So right now we're actually in the process of moving. I'm actually in the new shop right now.
Hell yeah.
This will hopefully be
Congrats.
this will hopefully be our hangout / media room. Like if you ever guys decide to come out to Ohio and visit us, this is where we'll kind of hang out, shoot the shit when we're not in the shop doing a tour or something, with the gun wall and stuff behind us. And then, you know, plan is to integrate and move into the building that I own, have that blessing to have the overhead kind of not having to worry about it so much.
Hell yeah.
And expand our equipment so that we can service our customers better. Um, so I don't really look too far ahead into the future as far as the plans. It's kind of one of them things where I'm a very live in the moment guy and get shit done now. And then when we have some time, maybe to kind of expand and look into what we want to do. I definitely want to get into more product development and like actual widgets and stuff like that as well. So
Okay.
we're still fairly young as a company, so we got some time to kind of grow into that. Right now, what we do right now is our bread and butter. It pays the bills, so there's no reason to stop unless we have to pivot and change. So, but there are some ambition projects that I want to bring full circle at some point, but got nothing but time right now. So we'll just kind of wait them out and just get the shop moved over here and start plugging away again, you know?
Hell yeah. So you kind of said you've got some things in your head. Do you see yourself at some point branching beyond pistols into rifles and other platforms down the road at some point?
Maybe, you know, there's some things. The wheel gun stuff has really got my gears turning a little bit.
Oh my
Just like
God.
some supporting equipment, some things that we can do to revolvers. Um, you know, optic systems that we want to come out with for other guns. We did the bodyguard. That has been very successful for us in doing that project. And then, you know, yeah, coming out for stuff with rifles if we see fit. You know, I do shoot rifles, just not that often. So I'm not sure, you know, if it's not rifles have not really been on my bingo card as far as coming up with stuff. I think that market is very well covered by a lot of
Yeah.
great companies. So unless it's just something that's like, I need this, a lot of the time there's already something out there if you search hard enough that literally is what you would make. So I'm all about also supporting other people in our community and in our space, because that's how we're all gonna survive, you know. So if this guy has it, I'll just go buy it, you know. So
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
definitely some ideas I have that are more pistol centric still. So
Mm.
Sweet.
What type of industry trends are you seeing that actually excite you the most right now?
um, you know, industry trends that I've noticed, it's just like honestly the most recent, it's not anything like it's recent enough, but the one last thing that really got me excited was like the Bodyguard 2.0.
Mm.
Like we had talked about earlier, I really have an interest in like small guns. I think
Yeah.
they're cool. Like you can just have this tiny thing in your hand that can, you know, do stuff. That's kind of neat. When that gun came out, I have a weird like love affair with 380 auto. I like 380 auto guns. I don't care what they are. I like them. Um, and when that gun came out, I was like, there's things about this gun that I like. I shot it. Like, let's try to figure out how to get an optic on it. I got really excited about that project, and it paid. You know, it ended up paying the like being a good move to really invest time, energy, and effort into that project. So I'm really seeing a shift, and it's been an ongoing shift of these smaller guns holding more bull. It's kind of funny how we went from single stack carry guns to like half stack carry guns to now like these half stack carry guns that are damn near full size. I think it's kind of funny how people still think like, oh, but it's thinner, but it's like, nah, dude, it's the size of a Glock 17. What are you talking about? Like it's
Yeah.
the same, but
Yeah.
different. Like it's
Guilty.
doing this weird circle. But I'm almost curious with the bodyguard if there's going to be other manufacturers coming out with similar platforms like that. And that kind of gets me excited to see like these micro guns and like playing with, because nobody's touched that segment. Like as soon as I saw the bodyguard, I'm like, we're gonna start doing stuff to this gun now, and get ahead of it. And it's definitely like proven to be a good move. So
It's like racing your Honda Civic. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
everything. It's great.
I
I'm
freaking love it.
I'm ready for ports and a Genghis comp on a life card. So
Yes.
so you know, you guys are busy. You can always, you know, I always tell people when they ask how I'm doing, and I say, hey man, I would rather complain about being too busy than not
Mm.
being busy enough. But, you know, competition is actually a good thing because it makes everybody better. Even though secretly we don't want any competition because we want to make all the money just to put the food on our tables. But, you know, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start a shop that is similar to yours or, you know,
Yeah,
similar to a service you offer?
yeah. So, you know, one thing that I realized early on, and I'm glad I did, that if you're going to drive innovation, that you're going to have people follow suit and try
Mm.
to, you know, pick up money behind you. That's part of the game. And as long as you're willing to accept that and ignore it, for lack of a better term, there were times where I just saw someone doing something identical to us and it bothered me. And you lose sleep over that kind of stuff. So you need to be able to come into this industry and this business with something to offer, something that you feel like you can produce for your audience or for people that you feel is going to be beneficial. And if you do it right, people are going to copy you and you have to be okay with that. Like this industry is very anything in the gun industry can be very cutthroat, but at the same time, once you understand that that's going to happen, and as long as you do it the right way, people are still going to come to you. They're going to spend their money. They're going to, keep your lights on, and then it doesn't matter anymore. Like people are going to shop where they want to shop, and my competitors customers could literally be my customers tomorrow. Like if there's anything about human behavior and what I've learned going to different shows like Guns Out TV or Ohio Range Day or whatever, that person went to a different shop doing very similar things and we met them face to face and they were like, I'm going to come spend my money with you because I like what you're doing. And basically what like long-winded explanation is like there's a lot of people out there to help support all these other shops, and don't be afraid to try to dip your toe in the industry right now because you could offer something that no one else does, and that's enough. Like people will come to you, and there's plenty of business out there to be had as long as you're doing all the right things. So
Yeah.
it boils down to being genuine and just being a good person. Like don't be a scumbag. You'll be okay.
Hell yeah.
That's sound advice.
Like just basic life shit,
Mhm.
because I don't have a degree in any of this stuff, but it's doing pretty good,
Yeah. 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 We all gotta learn as we go along. Solid advice, Vinny. Well, I unfortunately I think it's about that time. It kind of signifies the end of the show, but I've got one last question for you, Vinny. I ask all of our guests their top 5 guns. The NFA doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a gun that you own. It can be something that you've always fantasized about. It could be a freaking battleship if you want it to be. But we want to know, Vinny, you get 5 guns for the rest of your life. What 5 guns are you taking? And they can all be monsooned
man.
out, of course.
Nah, man. No particular order. I would like a SIG 5.52 Commando, like a Swiss
Yeah,
rifle.
dude, the big brother to
Um,
this thing.
yeah, I would like a VP. I have a VP 70. I would like the VP 70Z model with the
Dang.
stock.
Damn.
The Beretta M993R would be another cool one. And probably, I don't have it here, my 2019 Staccato P, that's all done up. And then the
Got
last
one
one would
more.
probably be like a Bond era PPK, like Walter PPK.
Oh, hell yeah. There's that golden eye
Yeah.
in the video
Yeah.
games. And
Yep.
Man's got some flavor, dude. Solid.
dude,
Yeah.
Not a gas operated rifle on the list.
we
Well, the
don't need
5.52's a gas operated rifle.
Well, I'm sorry. That's what
piston
you
gun.
started off with. Yeah, that's okay. That's a
Yeah.
solid choice. Yeah, the Swiss made some
Yeah.
sick rifles. So
I was waiting on
There's a like a non law letter 5.52 on Gunbroker right now. Like you have to be an SOT to get it, and I'm just like, no,
8,500
Zach will
bucks.
be
probably.
mad. It's
Zach.
on bid right now. Last time I checked on bid, it was like at 9,000.
Yeah, I was waiting on like, man, I would take an M1 Abrams as long as I could do a Lucky 7 and a Genghis Comp on
Yeah, Genghis Comp and Abrams.
it.
Yeah.
We would be,
I don't know, man. I'm still like very small arms kind of guy. Like I don't think too much about like tanks and artillery and shit like that. I probably should. It would be cool to have like an Abram, but
but you
I don't know
know,
if that's be considered a gun. That's a vehicle, right? It's just got guns attached to it.
Hey, but it counts, man.
Sure.
It counts.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, that's true. It counts.
so Vinny, tell everybody. I've already said it once on the site on the show, but tell everybody what the site is and where they can find you online, on social, whatever it is.
Yeah, plug Monsoon.
Yeah, so just for regular business stuff, if you just want to cruise the plethora of modifications that we do, monsoontactical.com will take you straight to our website. You go to our FAQ, a lot of good information, how our queue systems work. You can shop a la carte, check out our pricing for all the different platforms we work on. As far as regular socials go, and if you just Google us, we'll pop up pretty frequently. Um, Instagram's one of our biggest social media presence. We just hit 50K today, so thank you guys.
Hell
It's been
yeah.
great.
Congrats.
Yep. So Monsoon_Tactical. It's here is our handle for IG as well as YouTube. I need to put more work in over there, but yeah, pretty much Monsoon_Tactical or Monsoon Tactical. You'll find us everywhere on socials. So go check us out.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I appreciate that. And guys, if you're still
Appreciate you
listening,
guys for having me on, man.
Hell
yeah, man.
Yep.
Yeah. And everybody that's still listening, make sure to leave a comment. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following Monsoon Tactical, Monsoon_Tactical on IG. And if you have any questions for Vinny, leave them in the comments. We'll make sure they get to him and we will answer them the best we can. So on behalf of Vinny from Monsoon Tactical and Matt, I am Mike, and thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys next week.